Testing. Is that all right? Even with the echo?
Evening. Thank you. Well, good evening, members. It's nice to see everyone along tonight, those in the chamber and those on remotely. We welcome you to our June meeting. And before we start, we just want to express our condolences once again to Councillor Mackle following the passing of his mother. Our condolences also to Councillor McKinstry following the passing of her father. And just also to the family of Mr. Robert Sibbett, a member of the public who unfortunately passed away at our Dromore Household Recycling Centre. Myself and Chief Executive did visit the family on the day of that, which we were very grateful that we called. And also just to pass on our thanks to the staff that were involved in that incident. It was quite a shocking experience for them, but I know they did work and the family did speak very fondly of those who were involved. So I want to thank them for that there. So thank you. And we're just to move on. Now we have had quite a few events across our borough, from Armagh and Lurgan shows, the pipe bands, the Platinum Jubilee celebrations just before the start of the month, and also Armed Forces Day. All great events which went very successful and great feedback from them. We had great crowds at all the events, fair to say, and just to put in record, thanks to all who attended them and also to those involved in organising them, and especially to our staff who had done a great job. So we've just Alderman Spears, you'd like to come in.
Yes, Lord Mayor, just want to be associated with the remarks you expressed on your own behalf and on behalf of Council in respect of the deaths that have been referred to, Councillor Mackle's mother and my own party colleague, Louise McKinstry's father. I extend our deepest sympathy. I was speaking to Councillor Mackle about his mother, and equally, I'm speaking to Councillor McKinstry after the death of her father, and indeed attended the funeral, and I extend to her and her family our deepest sympathy as a party group for a very sudden death and untimely, as it were. And she was expecting her father home from hospital, but tragically that wasn't to be. But in any event, extend our sympathy to both families at this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Spears and Alderman Barr.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just want to pay my respects and condolences and solidarity with the families that lost loved ones, but equally to say what a fantastic day Armed Forces Day was. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Council and all the visitors, and thank the visitors for coming along supporting Armed Forces Day. And maybe in the future we get right back to the hosts of Armed Forces Day and say thank you very much for hosting it in Banbridge, and we look forward to hosting it again maybe sometime in the future. And maybe in your letter, Lord Mayor, if you could say that and say that if there's any available years down the line, we would like to host it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barr. I think by about 12:30 on the day, I was bending people's ear to say, would you come back again? One comment was made, and they listed all the places they've been, but certainly they were very, very impressed with Banbridge. So certainly we will, and there has been, I think, emails to Chief Executive and myself from them already, so we'll be replying with that and certainly inviting them back. It was a great day, so thank you. So, folks, we're going to just ask for any apologies tonight. I've been notified of Councillor McKinstry as an apology and our Deputy Lord Mayor. Is there any other apologies from the floor? No. Sorry. And Councillor Mackle.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for your kind words and the kind words of members. Just to respect apologies from Councillor Kevin Savage and Councillor Sorka McGowan, and Councillor McNally be along shortly. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mackle and Councillor McAlinton. I think you're mute there, Councillor McAlinton. If you could unmute your mic, thank you.
Sorry, Lord Mayor. Just I want to be associated our party with the comments towards Councillor Mackle's mother and Councillor McKinstry's father. So thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, and Councillor McCauley.
Yes, Lord Mayor, it was just to record apologies from Councillor McKinstry. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Albright?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just on behalf of Leila Alliance, proud to pass on our condolences to the family of Councillor Macklin and Councillor McKinstry. I know they have been in our thoughts the past previous weeks, so hope they're doing okay.
Thank you, Councillor Albright. And Alderman Baxter?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just to be associated with the comments and message of condolences to the two members. I've spoken to them both just on behalf of the DUP, just to pass on our condolences as well, and indeed to the family that of the man who lost his life at our community centre in Drumore as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Baxter. Folks, with apologies noted and the comments made, so we'll move into our Councilman's agenda item 2.1. I'm going to seek a proposer and a seconder for the minutes of the council meeting held on the 23rd of May 2022 to be taken and read as approved as a crack record. Proposed by Councillor Nicholson and seconded by Alderman Baxter. All in agreed? Agreed. And item 2.2, seek a proposer and a seconder for the minutes of the AGM held on the 6th of June to be taken as read as approved and crack record. Alderman Baxter and Alderman Midray, seconded. All agreed? Thank you. Agenda item 3 is declarations of interest. If there's anyone wants to make them now, or we can take them as we go in a normal manner. Take as we go. Thank you. Agenda item 4.1 are committee minutes. Seek a proposer and a seconder for the minutes of the Environmental Services Committee on the 7th of June, taken to be approved as a crack record. And Councillor McNeil, you're the chair of that one.
Happy to propose them.
Councillor Nelson. Just you're the vice chair. You happy to? Yeah. And all agreed? Great, thank you. Agenda item 4.2, minutes of the Planning and Regulatory Services is a cracked record. I'll ask Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, I'm happy to propose those minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And someone to second?
Good Lord Mayor, happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Spears?
Yes, Lord Mayor, I just want to seek a point of clarity. At a recent planning meeting which I attended and made representation objecting to a proposed development at Gosford Forest Park in the car park adjacent to the castle. Now, at that particular time, for whatever reason, the planning service, the planning department did agree and recommended that development for approval. Now, consequently, the planning service decision was overturned by the planning committee. And I believe the right decision was taken. Now, I have a bit of a quandary and I seek clarity on it. This is now, application has now been appealed by the applicant. And when it goes to a hearing, I would be interested to know who or how the decision taken by the planning committee is defended. Is it defended by the planning officers who had already recommended its approval, or is it defended by the decision of the planning committee? Now, I don't have an answer to this, but I think it goes fundamental to the core of where we are in relation to not only this application. Now, probably there is test case law in relation to this, but I am aware that when the current former Minister of Environment took a decision in relation to the development of the quarry in Mollusk, that when that matter was to be defended, the department weren't, as I understand it, prepared to defend the minister's decision. Now, that came to me from the chairman of that group that was planning that development. So I am somewhat in a difficult position, because I know there are very strong objections to the current development proposal in Gosford, and it is, as it were, has been appealed, and I am a current objector to that, and are many others. But I feel that people could be sold short if we have not a proper defence and legal position in place to fight that case. I seek your guidance, I seek the clerk's guidance, and I seek a guidance from others in relation to this issue. I think it has fundamental questions that needs answered. Thank you, Chair. Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Spears. I know that it's not on the agenda anywhere for this evening, but we'll bring our Chief Executive in for a brief comment.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Good evening, members. I suppose, not being aware that Alderman Spears was obviously going to raise this, and given that it is a matter that is certainly subject to an appeal, I think it would be important that we get this properly checked out, rather than just give an immediate or a knee-jerk response this evening, Lord Mayor. So if members are happy, I think this is something we would speak to our in-house legal team, and obviously head of planning and so on, and we will come back to members on that, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, it is a worthwhile point to consider. It's maybe one the planning committee could address, where we'll have our legal representation there in a couple of days, or a few days' time, at our normal meeting. So we could perhaps make that an item on the agenda in the regulatory portion of the planning services meeting, and then that could then follow through to July's full council meeting, maybe for an update.
Yep, I think that should be fine if there's time that we can get that put in for July's meeting. We all agreed then with the minutes of the planning regulatory services? All agreed. I suppose, folks, I was going to say at the start that it is a new start. It's a change. It's like the first day of school for me in here. So I was hoping you'd all be very gentlemanlike, but it was we have quite an agenda. We want to keep it moving. We want to keep the meeting as clear and concise as possible. And I suppose also just remind everybody to be courtesy to other councillors, to each other, and also to our staff here as we go through this year. It'll be something we would like to keep it going and moving as best we can. So, but thank you. We'll move on then to 4.3, the minutes of the governance and resources strategy committee, and the chair there, Alderman Woodry.
So proposed, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Woodry and Alderman Twybull.
Again, Lord Mayor, happy to second.
Thank you, Alderman Tribal. All agreed? Thank you. Item 4.4 on our agenda, the minutes of the Leisure and Community Services Committee held on the 13th of June to be taken and read and approved as its correct record. The chairperson is Councillor McKinstry, who's not here tonight. So the vice chair, Councillor McAlinton.
So proposed, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. And we have a seconder from that committee. Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm happy to second, but I do have a matter arising. That's okay. Yeah, it's in regard to LCS 90 2022. Now it was the business plan report, and we had been reflecting and speaking about access and inclusivity funding and the play strategy, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll be glad to see that moving forward in the autumn session of committees. However, there was one small issue that has raised its head with me this week, and it's in regard to the use and access of radar keys in council. Seems to be a wee bit patchy and a wee bit more simple depending on what area you're in. But the question in particular was, we, luckily enough, and I'm very grateful that we have been quite fortunate to have secured a few more facilities. We have a number of changing places facilities opening up very soon. We have a few more pieces of inclusive play equipment installed and hopefully more coming. And what has arisen is it is very simple for parents and families to access the keys. And there's a small charge for them, which we'll maybe discuss at a later time. But the problem that has arisen is we now, luckily enough, have a lot of groups and even some schools in the area that are making use of our open spaces and parks because they are becoming more suitable for them. They do not have access to the radar keys as a group or as an organisation, even if it was just one for use. Now, I'm not just specifically talking about children, I'm talking about older people as well in our parks and open spaces. We're encouraging people out. We're encouraging people to use our spaces. We're trying our best. And I mean it when I say we are. We really are. I say this all the time, and I hope you know I appreciate it. We're punching well above our weight with this in this council area, and I'm very proud to say that. But that is just a little, it's probably a wee loophole actually. As Trace, that just maybe needs just a wee look at it. Probably means maybe a wee report, or hopefully nothing too detailed for you. But if it needs a proposal for a report, I'd happy to do that, or if somebody can have a wee look at that for me, I'd be very grateful.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Jonathan, are you happy to bring the report on?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Flaherty, for your comments. Certainly happy to take members' comments on board and take a report back in terms of the radar keys and some of those issues with groups and schools in the autumn. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Barr.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And it's just really regard to the summer schemes. On Saturday night there, we're in leisure, are we? Yeah. So on Saturday night there, I was over at the wee event that was run by the Ukrainian group over in Lurgan. The Deputy Lord Mayor was there, Councillor Savage and myself was there. And fantastic event, but I was talking to one of the host families on the evening time, and he was just really saying about the children and the people that are staying with him. Obviously, because they're not receiving the financial support from the UK government at this time, they are struggling. And one of the things that he was saying about was getting activities or even being able to use leisure centres or whatever for them for a short period of time. And it was just, I said I would raise it with yourself to see if council officers could maybe look at something and how could we be more inclusive with the Ukrainian refugees who are coming here, to be able to support them, to be able to give them that direction and support. and over to the officers on that, see if it is doable. I think obviously whenever a few months ago when I was up there myself and we had the Ukrainians here, and we did say then, and it was across this chamber, that we were here to support them and no matter what we done going forward. And I think, this would be a fantastic way just to continue that support. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Valid point, Alderman Barr, and we'll bring in Seamus. I was speaking to some of the families who are at Warringstown as well on Friday night and enjoying all the different activities and comment about how much there is on, which is good too. But certainly that's more specific detail. So Seamus, if you can come in.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Just in response to the question, the council has been working closely with the Ukrainian community group and supporting the group initially through the work with the Ukrainian with the support hub that was available at the warehouse site. And more recently, the work of the council is on the Ukrainian Assistance Centre that's available out at the hub in Craigavon. In relation to the specific point, as officers, we can follow up and deal with. I'm aware that the family supports that are those sponsors, that the funding is slower coming through. So we'd be happy to pick up, probably maybe in conjunction with central government and the ongoing Ukrainian assistance centres that are ongoing weekly, to try and take a holistic view. But in terms of that, happy as officers to look into the detail of that, happy to bring some information back and to do that over the coming week. So thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just happy to second what Alderman Barr has proposed here tonight. And I think after talking to a lot of Ukrainian families on Saturday night, we heard firsthand how difficult it is for them, and any assistance that we can do as a council, corporate body, I think it's important we do that. So happy to second that proposal. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Savage and Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. You can tell if I come in with my AOB item now, as there's probably 99% all overlap with what Alderman Barr outlined. Members, essentially my AOB request was in relation to the scheme Belfast Council set up in relation to free leisure access for asylum seekers that they would have while their asylum status is being considered. And obviously the Ukrainian refugees would fall into that category and so on. So my request would have been, but it sort of might fold nicely into Alderman Barr's there, that all officers gather information about that potential Belfast scheme, regards to financial implications and so on, how it might work, and bring a report back to committee. It's sort of overlapping with what Alderman Barr is saying there. So if Alderman Barr is content that be included with regards to, the information being brought back to council, so we could maybe consider doing a similar scheme with potential asylum seekers, within our own borough, similar to Belfast, in particular because of the number of Ukrainian refugees who are coming here. And as you be aware, Lord Mayor, when someone is going through, the asylum seeker status and while their case is being heard, currently they're only entitled to £39 a week. And obviously they couldn't be involved in much leisure activities and things like that. So potentially be considered along with Alderman Barr's request and information brought back to council in due time with regards to that issue, Chair, or Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. I did speak to Jonathan earlier today, and I think he's already speaking herself that they're going to bring a report back in due course and look into the Belfast model as well. So it's something that I think will all tend fine if that's happy enough. So, thank you. All agreed then with the minutes of the Leisure and Community Services Committee? Agreed. Thank you. 4.5 then, minutes of the Economic Development Regeneration Committee held on the 14th of June to be taken as read and approved as a crack record. And Alderman Burns, you're the chair.
Happy to propose, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Barry, Vice Chair.
Happy to second, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Causeway.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And while it's not on the committee, I just want to raise maybe a query just under EDR 77. 2022. That's page 11 on the report, and it's around Christmas 2022. And whilst there's no issue in terms of the Christmas issue or the Christmas schedule, what I do note in it is that there are a huge number of events that are to take place over that period of time, and the report is sectioned out to deal specifically with the Christmas period. But I suppose, and it's probably too late for this year, but one of the things that I am concerned about is that we don't have currently in place an overarching event strategy for the council. And not only that, we know what pressure the council is under and the departments each are under, then all doing different events. So the Christmas events then put pressure on environmental services whenever they're having to step in and clean up and pick up resources. And there's not a real strategic coordination of all of these things. And then when you take on the number of events that we've just had in the borough in the early part of, through the month of June, and with pipe bands and other events in our parks and Armed Forces Day and all those things. And again, that has a knock-on impact on other departments. And I feel like we're not coordinating that as well as we could or should. And I do note that there have been some issues raised in other committees and around the identifying of budgets and where that all comes from. But that aside, having a strategy is one thing, but we actually don't have a particular events budget for the council corporately. That is across all departments and it's fragmented all over the place. And the other part of that then is we don't have a specific events team who look at that. So each department and others may do bits and pieces, and there's nobody's in a central coordinating role that can pull together all of our departments on particular events. Now, I'm conscious that we're into maybe more media discussion around committees, but I want to just reiterate the importance that our party put on trying to move that ahead at pace to try and make sure that we get that issue resolved in some way, but also to make sure that appropriate resources and officer resources and financial support is put in the right places across the board. And I suppose that's been more highlighted to me as part of the environmental services review. And I think where we can iron some of that out, we'll be in a much better place. I think there's some workshops coming up in the very near future on it, but at the same time, I am a wee bit frustrated with the pace of this going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosman. I'll bring in Olga.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and good evening, members, and thank you, Councillor Cosby. And yes, events are very important in the calendar of this council. They're important in terms of providing opportunities for entertainment, bringing visitors to the area as well, but also in terms of the civic leadership of the council. And the points that you've highlighted are recognised in terms of the unseen costs of supporting events that goes behind in terms of the environmental work that needs to be done, but also the equipment, etc. as well that's needed. And right across the number of different departments from health and safety, through to the communications, events touch so many different parts of the council. The first workshop with members is on Monday night to start the work with elected members' input into the event strategy. And then we're going to be reporting back then to committee after that in terms of the work that's been ongoing to date, but then also having a coordinated approach across the council to the event strategy.
Thank you, Olga. And Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's a different item in case there's any other lights. Anybody on the same thing? No?
Councillor Cosby, looking back in on the same item? Okay.
I was just briefly, Lord Mayor, thank you, and thank you, Councillor Flaherty. But I appreciate that, Olga, and I'm looking forward to that moving for us. And I suppose one of the things that I'm concerned about is when we get into looking at some of the transformation, I've said this before, is that we're transforming silos into maybe more efficient silos, and we need to make sure that we're not doing that. And which is why I do feel very strongly that as part of not just the strategy, but the environmental services review, leisure services reviews and things like that, that that we try and coordinate that much better. I do feel strongly about officers from various different departments being involved in those processes, particularly in the working groups that are set up. That's currently not the case, and I think we need to correct that to make sure that, for example, Brian is at environmental services review meeting or a leisure meeting or something like that, just to kind of pull some of that together, because we might have questions for Sharon or Jonathan or the officers involved in that, and they can't answer us, but Brian can, or some other officer on a different issue. So it's just making sure, in order that we can make progress and make decisions and recommendations in those forums, that we have access to the relevant officers in the relevant places. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosby and Councillor Flaherty. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It is actually it's the same item, EDR 77 2020, Christmas 2022. I am not a member of this committee, but some will not be surprised that I did want to pass some comment and reference on the silent Christmas event. And I want to thank Julianne Spence in particular. She really took on board a lot of what I've said about this event for a long number of years. This really is a very important event, Lord Mayor, and I encourage you strongly, if you have never been, you'll certainly get a chance to attend this year. And take it with your whole heart, because the impact that this event has on children and families with special needs and requirement really is immense, and it should never be underestimated. The effort that goes in by staff and volunteers is really a credit to them. I still get pictures from people from 2018, 2019, who maybe it's the only photograph they have of their children with Santa Christmas. So Christmas memories are a very specific moment in time, and some of us have very, very few. And this event really does create precious memories for these families. I just want to say thank you to the officers for this. I really appreciate it, and they will too.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty, and certainly look forward to attending that when the Councillor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just happy to hear Councillor Cosby raising the issue about no policy around this and around Christmas time, because we are putting added pressure on our staff, and we do need to draw the line somewhere in this. And it's about that really that I want to thank Councillor Cosby for raising that. We did raise it on the working group. My concerns, along with Alderman Barr, our concerns on the working group about that, and again in our Economic Development Committee, as per minutes there noted. We also raised, I had asked a question about the additional 155k, and whenever I asked what is your budget, I didn't get an answer. I still haven't got an answer to that yet. So I think before we just dish out money, we need to know actually what we have, what we're spending, and I think that's clear in any business sense. But also I had raised about the planting of Christmas trees to try and save and look to our environment and our environmental responsibility on that. I'd raised that in the working group and also in the EDR. So I hope that's something that we're going to pursue, as the officers were saying they have difficulty in sourcing Christmas trees and all coming in. So that's something we should be looking to the future on that. So it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. We know our lights on. We all agree then with the Economic Development Committee. Great. Thank you. Item 4.6, the minutes of the Performance and Audit Committee. Councillor Hoggy is.
Yeah, I'm happy to propose. Thank you.
Thank you. And our Vice Chair, Councillor Toman.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Toman. With no lights on, all agreed? Agreed, yep. Thank you. Agenda item 5, we're moving in under Chief Executive's report. We have 3 decision items here, and the first is 5.1. And Glenn Farry is going to take us through this. He's online. It's the consultation on water flooding and sustainable drainage. Thank you, Glenn.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor, and good evening. Members, this report is in relation to the Council's response to the Department for Infrastructure's consultation on water flooding and sustainable drainage. The matter was discussed at the Environmental Services Committee on the 7th of June, where a draft response was agreed, subject to the addition of comments from Councillor Pope, specifically under point 3. Councillor Pope's additional comments related to the use of legislation as opposed to guidance to identify who's responsible for the management of sustainable drainage systems. And the council response has been updated to reflect that, and a copy of which is detailed in the appendix. So members are asked to approve the updated response.
Thank you. Councillor Pope.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Glenn. And it was really to propose that on that change. I mean, obviously, it's to do with the long-term maintenance of SUDs, bringing that into legislation and consideration of making SUDs mandatory for all new developments. This is really to protect, leisure users of our rivers and lakes, from the harmful effects from surface water pollution, and also protect biodiversity and fish. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pope and Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor, and thanks, Glenn. And I'm happy to second this recommendation, but I have a question in relation to item 3. And I would like it to be a bit more sort of definitive, because I think NI Water should adopt these SUD systems. If the developer is going to put them in, I think NI Water should be adopting them. Because obviously NI Water adopt our storm system as it is at the minute as part of the process. And SUDs, if there's going to be an insistence on SUDs, which I have no issue with, and again, there's the different types of SUDs, and they do have that ability, one, to prevent flooding, but also help the quality of water that goes into the rivers. But basically, I think NI Water needs to step up the plate and adopt these if developers are willing to pay for these within their systems. So that's my point, Chair, to Glenn. But I'm happy enough that but I'd like that bit, if possible, to be added in, Chairman. Thank you. Lord Mayor.
Okay, so Councillor, can your request not be added into this proposal? Are we all agreed with that? All agreed? Yeah. And Councillor McAlinton.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, now I just want to thanks Glenn for his work on this, and also I want to thank Colin Bale, who I've been working recently with in relation to Rottland Meadows and Agrima Meadows, and in their efforts in setting up a community resilience group. So it's just basically to thank both men for their efforts in setting this group up. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McAlinton. Okay, folks, that's been agreed. So move on to 5.2, letters of offer from Tourism ANI, and Brian Johnson's going to take us through this report.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and good evening, members. As you said, that these relate to letters of offer from Tourism Northern Ireland. So applications were submitted for funding for the 2022 Food and Cider Festival and Georgian Festival. Letters of offer have been received for both events. So the recommendation before members is it's recommended that members accept the 2 letters of offer from Tourism Northern Ireland, the 2022 Food and Cider Festival for £9,000 funding, and Georgian Christmas Festival for £6,000 funding. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Brian. And Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, thanks, Lord Mayor, and thanks, Brian, for the report. And I'm happy to propose this, Chairman. I think these are 2 quite signature events within our borough, and have sort of gone from success to success despite COVID. But basically, and it's great to again secure some funding from Tourism NI, because I know that their budgets have been quite reduced. So to get something is a bonus. And as I say, we are trying to I heard actually the head of tourism on the radio today. They're trying to reinvigorate the tourism potential of Northern Ireland, and obviously as part of our borough, those 2 events are massive. And when you look at our agri strategy and about the idea of agri food and food and things, it all blends in. So I'm happy to propose, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholson. Certainly the events that have been on so far, there's a great appetite for them, and when you put them on well, it seems to bring the people out. So it's great to see. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Happy to second, and I presume council will be using the food heartland to its best in this to promote our local agri-businesses as much as possible. So thank you. Happy to sign.
Thank you, and we're all agreed? Agreed. 5.3, Bell's Amusement Fun Fair, and Jonathan Hayes is going to take us through this.
Chair Barry, Patience is going to take the report.
Thank you. Barry.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Evening, members. The report before you this evening is in relation to granting permission for Bell's Amusement to hire and trade on council property what was formerly Waves at Lurgan Park on the dates from the 18th to the 29th of August. There is payment that we will receive for that. The usual health and safety requirements will have to be met before obviously we would go ahead with it, and insurances, etc. will be checked as well. Happy to take any questions that members have on that particular issue.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Happy to propose as long as the health and safety requirements are in place.
Thank you. And Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, I'm aware of the Bells, the guys that run that fun fair. I know they're very reputable operators, so I'm very happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Tillman.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Happy to support the proposal. Just a quick question, Barry. Is there a consultation exercise needed for this proposal? I'm just thinking of the residents there at Robert Street. And is there any needed consultation with the PSNI as well, considering that it will be open to 9 p.m? Thank you.
There wasn't planned. Sorry, Lord Mayor. So there hasn't been a consultation with the residents planned for the hours that they're working, which are similar to the park. Certainly, we will be talking to colleagues in the PSNI and informing them about it. But the hours of opening are the same as our park. So we don't think there's a particular issue there. But happy if members wishes to.
Okay, thank you, Barry. So we all agreed then, 5.3? Agreed, thank you. Okay, members, agenda item 6 then is a schedule of correspondence. 6.1 and 2 are items seeking if there's any views from council. 6.3 to 7 are all for noting. Unless anyone has any particular view, we could. Okay, Alderman Spears.
Lord Mayor, I just want to, in conjunction with Alderman Wilson, present a petition from the residents of Broomhill development on the Armagh Portadown Road. It's signed by, I think it's 230 odd residents and users of that particular site. Currently, it is almost now impossible if you're coming out of that site and particularly turning towards Portadown, it's almost impossible to do. And anyone that is intending to do that has to sit for a very, very long time. There is currently some development happening on the site, and it potentially gives an opportunity possibly to do things slightly better than maybe it is intended to do. So I have a petition. I know it has been forwarded. I wasn't here last month at council. I had spoken to officers and it has been sent on to the road service, to which I have received a reply. And I just felt it but right and proper that I table this petition. And I know there is a site meeting arranged for Thursday morning with Councillor Alderman Wilson and MLA William Irvin and myself, with a view to having this matter resolved. So thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll hand it over to the officer.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Spears. I know this is not on the agenda anywhere for tonight's meeting, so happy to take it off you after the meeting, if that's okay. And we'll stick to 6.1 to 2 with no comments in it. 6.3 to 7 is just for noting. We're all happy to note. Read the note. Thank you. Items requiring corporate seal 7.1 to 7.4. Could a seeker proposer and a seconder that we seal? We are happy to seal. And thank you. And we have a seconder. Alderman Burns, second. Thank you. All agreed? Thank you. Okay, so folks, item 8 is the notices of motion. We have a notice of motion tonight brought to us by Councillor Toman and Councillor O'Neill. And we'll invite Councillor Toman now to bring us notice of motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Members, this motion is about practical investment, practical delivery on infrastructure from both governments. I doubt there is a member in council that does not express the same frustrations that I have experienced with either one or both passport offices when trying to contact them on behalf of a constituent. It doesn't matter whatever business, organisation or service you provide, when customers pay for a service and that service does not meet the demands, and most certainly when you do not meet your deadlines, then you must look at the infrastructure and resources you have and see where improvements can be made. Currently, we are seeing unprecedented demand for passport services across this island. The UK Passport Office has anticipated 9.5 million British passport applications will be made this year. And in March of this year, more than 1 million new passports were processed, which is the highest output on record. The Irish government has confirmed that in the first 6 months of 2022, the Passport Office has issued almost 600,000 passports, which is close to the total number of passports that were issued in total of last year. In Northern Ireland, Irish passport applications have now outstripped British passport applications, and the Irish government need to recognise that. And as outlined in the motion, an additional office in the north would certainly do that. These most recent figures suggest that it is certainly a very practical and strategic advantage for them to do so. So tonight, members, I'm asking you for your support with this motion to send a clear message to both governments that they need to better streamline their services in which citizens from Northern Ireland are paying for and are entitled to, as detailed in the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to formally second tonight's motion. Since joining council, I've been inundated with pleas for help as people scramble to get their passports, both Irish and British passports. Applications have been submitted many months ago, and yet they can't get an answer from either office as they seek an update on their applications. So I'd like to thank my colleague for bringing this motion to council tonight, and I would hope that all parties are able to support. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Moodry.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is indeed an issue that requires some attention. It's not a new issue. Passports have been now delayed, whether British or Irish, for some considerable period of time. But I don't think that the establishment of an office for Irish passports is going to be an answer to this issue, because hopefully by the time an office would be up and running, the issue would be solved. So therefore, I would propose an amendment to the motion, and I have already sent it through to the Chief Executive's desk there. The first paragraph I'm content with. Then I would adopt by saying, then Council writes to the Home Secretary Priti Patel expressing concern at the current backlog in processing passport applications and requests that the government put in additional resources to alleviate the problem. Acknowledging that there are those who have applied for an Irish passport, that this Council also writes to Simon Coveney, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Irish Government, expressing our concern as to the backlog, and that they allocate resources to try and resolve the issues faced by those residents living in Northern Ireland. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Moutray, and Alderman Barr.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm just reading my own amendment, and it's almost a carbon copy. Just happy to second that amendment. I'm not sure how legally we could call on a foreign government to set up a passport in a sovereign nation either, but yeah, happy to support. Thank you. Happy to second, sorry.
Alderman Moutray has made an amendment and Alderman Barr seconded. Okay. Councillor Lavery.
Lord Mayor, thank you. I suppose, like all members, I was inundated with passport verification requests in late 21, early 22, given that I guess people had 2 years of COVID and they weren't able to go on many travels. So there was a sudden surge in these requests. And as has been noted, there was information presented by both governments about making sure you get your applications in on time and that it may take more than the usual 8 weeks. But Lord Mayor, I've had applications in 20 months, or sorry, 20 weeks, 5 months plus. And it's been impossible to get any information about these applications. And indeed, there was one last week I was called about to verify a different application. And it just so happened that I was able to speak to the right person who was also having to deal with a couple of other applications that I had previously signed in January. Now, if I didn't get that by fluke, I mean, there's people here who had been going on holiday in July or hoping to go on holiday in July and it had been cancelled. And that's the experience was repeated across all members of this chamber, not just for Irish passports, but for British passports also. And there seems to be a particular issue with paper Irish passport applications for first timers, which requires a more in-depth process. There seems to be much more a preferable experience from online. So I was just speaking on behalf of the Alliance Party in support of the original motion. Now, as to Alderman Moutray's comments that a passport office or similar in Belfast would not have any impact, I can tell one story from a constituent of mine who, in terms of seeking an update on her application, had to travel to Dublin to do so. And she went and travelled to Dublin and still got no further with regards to her application case. Now, that information could have easily been done by a phone call, but it wasn't available to her because it was a first-time passport application. She had to present herself in person. Now, we know the cost of petrol and the length it is to Dublin compared to potentially Belfast, so it would certainly be much more of a preferable, smoother experience if there was an outpost in Belfast. So I'm content with the original motion. I'd maybe ask other members in this chamber to consider their position and they'd support something which will, I think, be of benefit to all of our constituents, given the rise in passport applications this previous 6 months, and indeed the rise in particular of Irish passport applications in that time period. Lord Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery and Councillor Hockin.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And I suppose, just on behalf of our party, we would support the original motion. I would welcome the tone of this motion as well. I think it's a pretty fair and balanced motion that's been brought forward tonight. I myself, I suppose, like most of the councillors in here, have signed passports irrespective of who comes first here, what nationality their passport application says, because when you're getting tight for time on a flight, sometimes people don't really care what it says in the front. They just want it as soon as possible. But I was just slightly concerned with some of the comments, and I'm not actually sure Councillor Barr meant it the way it came out, but I think it's worth reflecting on the fact that under the Good Friday Agreement, we're entitled to either or both. And I think the passport office issue is maybe not as difficult for him as what he thinks, because it's actually just from a practical point of view for people who are wanting to access the passport service from the Irish, or for an Irish passport. It just means not having to travel to Dublin, and it's just something as simple as that. And I would support the comments from Councillor Lavery on that too. But on behalf of our party, we would support the original motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Barr. You're looking back in.
Just for clarity, Lord Mayor, yes, the Good Friday Agreement does stipulate Irish, British, or whatever. My comment was sovereignty. Sovereignty is people who are born here or British. This is our country. regardless of what passport you want to hold. That was my point. This is sovereign land. To bring a foreign passport office to a sovereign land potentially is got international laws all written all around it. Never mind the Good Friday Agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barr. Councillor Toman, are you happy to accept the amendment?
Thanks, Chair, for letting me back in. No, I'm not happy to accept the amendment. I just want to further add that the UK Passport Office has 7 regional passport offices throughout the UK. They also have over 50 passport interview offices across the UK. And the Irish Passport Offices has 2, which is in Dublin and Cork. So, and you know, there's a bit of a equality issue here for the rights of citizens here within our community. And as others have outlined, the Good Friday Agreement has enshrined the rights of people in the North to identify themselves as Irish, British, or North. So I'm not happy to accept the amendments, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Toman. Okay, folks, we haven't got an agreement, so we will put this to vote then on the amended. I'll ask Member Chief Executive just to read it out again.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, members. So the amendment that you will be voting on, the first paragraph remains the same. So that's Council acknowledges and supports residents' concerns regarding the current backlog and delays for the processing of passport applications. And then it continues that Council writes to the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, expressing concern at the current backlog in processing passport applications and requests that the government put in additional resources to alleviate the problem. Acknowledging that there are those locally who have applied for an Irish passport, that this Council also writes to Simon Coveney, Minister for Foreign Affairs in the Irish Government, expressing our concerns as to the backlog and that they allocate resources to try and resolve the issues faced by those residents living in Northern Ireland. So, Lord Mayor, that's the amendment that members will be voting on, whether they accept or don't.
Okay, members, we'll go straight to the vote then on the amended motion. Everyone clear? And Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Barr?
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Baxter?
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Barry?
Yes, Lord Mayor. Yes, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Burns?
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Cosby?
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Donnelly?
No, Mayor.
And Councillor Donnelly?
No, Lord Mayor.
And Councillor Duffy?
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Flaherty?
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Hockey?
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Hockin? Sorry, Councillor Hogan, you said
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Johnson?
No, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Kennedy? No. Sorry, Alderman Kennedy's on the line. Councillor Arkham?
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Lavright?
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor McCauley?
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Mackle.
No, Lord Mayor.
Sorry again, Councillor Mackle.
No.
Thank you. Councillor McAlinton.
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor McGowan. No, all right. Councillor McElrath.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor McKinstry's not here. Councillor McNally.
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor McNeil.
No, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Moodry.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Moodry. Councillor Nelson.
I've changed. No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Nicholson.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor O'Hanlon.
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor O'Neill.
No, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Pope.
No, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Rankin.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Kyle Savage.
Yes, Lord. No, I've heard. Yes, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Savage. Alderman Spears.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Tinsley.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Toman.
No, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Twyvell.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Alderman Wilson.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, Lord Mayor.
Deputy Mayor is not here, and myself, yes. Thank you. Okay, members, 19 yeses and 17 noes, so now becomes a substantive motion. We'll go back to Councillor Toman to wind.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's disappointing that unionists couldn't support this motion, but it was expected, and I tried not to politicise this motion by adding in both government's flaws in the systems. You know, there's nothing in this motion which threatens any unionists or their culture. In fact, many unionists are now dual passport holders, and given the ongoing access to EU rights, which comes from holding an Irish passport, it is not surprising to see this increase. And any unionist holding an Irish passport can be seen as a pragmatic statement rather than cultural.
Point of order here, just 1 second.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just in relation to 21.13, a member to speak to a motion. Member who speaks shall direct his speech directly to the motion under discussion or an amendment thereof. For now, in a substantive motion, we're not talking about unionist culture or anything like that. So it'd be helpful for everybody in the conclusion of business if the member would keep his comments directly related to the notice of motion under discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosby, and Councillor Tomo will bring you back in just to finish mine.
Yeah, no problem, Lord Mayor. You know, I brought forward this motion because as elected representative, I want to campaign for better services for my constituents. And that's why I brought forward this motion. So, Lord Mayor, thank you for indulging me, and thank you, members, for your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members, we all agreed? Silence to take it as agreed. Move on then to confidential business. Could a seeker proposer or seconder to go into committee for consideration of confidential items? Alderman Mitry's proposed and Alderman Spears has seconded. Members and listeners to the audio feed in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into the confidential session of the Council. This means that we'll be turning off the public audio feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ICT officers to please turn off the audio feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of the meeting Need an open session. Thank you. And members, we don't have only just one item I want to bring as any other business. And the Councillor Alvarez brought his earlier on. But members, just tonight to note that this is the last council meeting of one of our directors, our strategic director and neighbourhood services, Sharon O'Gorman. She commences her career break, and we do wish you well, Sharon, and all the best for your time off. And I want to thank you for all your work over the years. And as with our meeting today and how diligent you've been right to the very end, that's certainly commented. And we want to thank you for that. And I want to put that in record. So just Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, and I would fully support your comments, Lord Mayor, and to Sharon. I've known Sharon since I came on the council back in 2005 from the old Armagh days, and throughout that period, she was one of our best officials in council, along with our chief executive at the time, and worked very well along with our group of officials. And I remember going back to the old executive committee days. It seems a long time ago, and I know that whole system got a bit of criticism around the other councils, but I felt it worked very well in Armagh for those number of years that we had that style of leadership in the council. I know you were a firm part of that procedure, and many's a thorny issue was dealt with quite professionally thanks to your efforts, and you've brought those same qualities over into ABC Council, and you've worked tremendously well throughout the last number of years. And with the family, and I do be talking to you now and again just about family life and how demanding a few youngsters can be, and the time it takes and trying to juggle everything. So I can't fault you for taking a wee bit of time out to focus on them, because I think like my eldest, I think they're around the same age, they're sprouting up very quick and they're nudging you about the kitchen now. But it's good, all good fun. But I do want to wish you well in your period off, and I hope you use it well and enjoy it. And no doubt we'll see you back at a time of your own choosing, maybe on your family's choosing as well. But all the best in that, and great working with you over the past few years.
Thank you, Alderman Spears.
Lord Mayor, Councillor Wilson referred to him meeting Sharon O'Gorman when he came to the council. Unfortunately or fortunately, I met Sharon when she came to the council as a young girl, and she has been certainly a star within the show over those many years. A young girl that as a councillor, I always found her extremely helpful and very diligent in her work. I remember having conversations with the former chief executive in the council, Des Mitchell. I remember him saying to me, "This young girl will go far." And I said, "I hope she doesn't travel that far, because we need people here to do work within this council." And he agreed with me on that, but he also, we agreed that this young girl was a capable girl and would go far in her role within council. And that has been proven beyond any shadow of doubt. Sharon, may I, on a personal basis, say a very sincere word of thanks to you as someone that I certainly treated as a good friend within council. I recall being in America with you as back a good number of years ago, and on a council expedition in terms of developing work within Armagh. And I certainly have always found you in every respect, number one, a very fair, very diligent, determined officer, one determined to deliver. And I have certainly have utmost admiration and respect for you in the work that you have done and the way that you have carried yourself in that work over many years. I certainly wish you well. I know this council will be the poorer in the coming year for you not being here. But we certainly do look forward to you returning on another day. Yes, you and I talked about the issue of you've been in a busy role when your family was growing up, and that was certainly no doubt. You know, these things do have an effect on family life and dealing with family and children and family issues, late nights and whatever, going from council meetings. So on my behalf and on behalf of my group, and may I say a very, very sincere word of thanks and congratulations to you. And I wish you well and look forward to you returning here even to greater things. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Alderman Spears, and we have Councillor Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Sharon, Alderman Spears kept referring to you when you were a young girl. There's me thinking you were still a young girl. But can I, like others, add my sincere thanks. I have always found you to be not just a damn good officer, but a very competent officer, and someone who has broke many glass ceilings for the female workforce, not just in our council, but across the public sector and local government. Because anything you have touched, you have put your hand to, you have excelled in, be it whatever part of council or whatever project you have been tasked with. You're someone who sees it through to the end and sees it through to a very successful conclusion. I sincerely hope that in the time ahead we will be welcoming you back. And I know, as others have said, this is about you taking time with your family. And I'm glad, as someone who has that young family as well, I know only too well the pressures that is on us. But what I do know is that if emails were coming late at night, they were always from Sharon O'Gorman. And at the same time, over the last couple of years, as COVID had its impact on council services, you have been instrumental in ensuring the council's service delivery through that process. And I'm not going to try and speak for the boys on the big wages, as I say, but I should certainly say that not just will councillors miss you, but the chief executive and your colleagues around the executive table will miss you, because you have a wise head and experience that isn't easily found out there. So I wish you well over your time off, but I also hope it'll not be too long till we see you back.
Thank you, Councillor Hanlon. Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and it's really just to concur with all the remarks that have been said about Sharon and wish her well on behalf of my party and alliance. Over the last 3 years from which we've known Sharon, both the quantity and quality of the work is perhaps unprecedented, so it will be a loss to council, and I do wish her well on her career break. I'm just conscious that there's an election in the middle of it, so it could be the last time you see maybe a few of us in this committee, but certainly from ourselves, we wish you all the best. But also just to know that in terms of whilst you're departing, that John will be deputising for you, and I don't think there's a more energetic and enthusiastic officer in this council. So I know it will be you'll be left in safe hands. So just in terms of your off, wish you all the best, and maybe we'll see you out and about. All that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. I'm not sure if a few departures from the chamber, Sharon, will encourage you back next year or not. I'm not sure what Councillor Lavery's saying there, but Councillor Maggle, please.
Yes, so just on behalf of our group, I'd like to wish Sharon well on her year off and to really enjoy her time with her family, and we'll see you back next July, August. So all the best.
Thank you, Councillor Maggle. And Sharon, I'm going to bring you in if you want to say a couple of words here. I'm just going to say I'm glad you're only going for a year, or we'll be here all night with all these nice words people are saying. So Sharon, if you can have a
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, members, for your comments. I'm very, very humbled by all of the comments that I have received, and it means a lot to me, and I've certainly enjoyed working with you all. And as you've said, it is now time for me to take a bit of time out with my family, and I'm very fortunate that the organisation as well, such as ours, is affording me this opportunity. So it's great to be part of an organisation that enables that for people as well. So look, thank you again, members. And I would also just echo the comments and wish Jonathan every success in his acting up role as Strategic Director. And I agree, he will certainly be a great officer going in that role. So thank you, members, very much.
Thank you, Sharon. And again, we do wish you well for your year off. Could I also just congratulate Jonathan and wish him well, as he's, I'm glad Sharon said acting up roles. You didn't just say you were acting up, Jonathan. So in your role, you're not misbehaving. So we wish you well as you take on more responsibilities there. So members, thank you all very much for your input tonight. I think we've had a good meeting. We've got through quite a lot of business. So I want to thank each one of you for that. And we'll just finish your meeting. Thank you.